start already? I don't see the video anywhere.
I don't see it either. I don't see no video showing on Open Pagan Church. And something ain't going right because I don't see none.
We don't hear you any either.
You forgot to push a button.
Well, it's not 10:30 yet, so you got a minute.
There it is.
Alright, 9:30 a.m. Here we go. See if I can get the right buttons flipped this time. Yeah, it's been a crazy day already. Crazy. Well, I hope everybody can hear me okay in the channel on the new setup. If you can or cannot, please let me know. It will not take long to convert back out to my old system. So if you guys would, please check in the Facebook channel itself and see if you can hear me okie dokie. Up to and including blowing my nose.
Yeah, there's a big lag.
A big what?
So there's a big lag, almost a minute and a half.
Well, the big lag I can't
And
do
there's
anything
no-
about. That's going to be Facebook.
Yeah, I hear you talking and everything, but
There you are.
Say what? So we got a really big lag going on this morning. Is the microphone seem to be working okay?
Yes.
yeah, it sounds fine.
Well, give you an idea what we got. That's what we got. We got a great big gushy rabbit's foot. We won't talk about the laugh that Camille and I had over that last night. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, Open Pagan Church. I'm having to run Discord in a web browser, so if you guys are going to be chatting, talking, or whatever, you're going to have to speak up because I won't be able to see what you're typing. The Discord app doesn't seem to want to play well with Skype, so I'm still working on both of those, getting them to run together. Anyway, that being said, our topic today is segregation. Now, I kind of wanted to talk about this because segregation is everywhere. It really is. Segregation doesn't have to do simply with race. Segregation has to do with everything from difference of opinion, difference of lifestyles, difference of beliefs, religions. Segregation is everywhere. So what constitutes segregation? Well, I did put a link in the chat area for anybody that wants to take a look at it, take a read. But essentially, simplistically, segregation is when you separate people, or a person or a group of people is segregated from the rest of the others. The separation, the put apart, put out because they're not normal or like everyone else. So essentially what it comes down to is segregation is global. Segregation is not an American thing. It's not a British or Japanese, or I should say Middle Eastern or Oriental. It's a global situation. People that are different are segregated. I remember I remember in the 60s when I was in grade school, the government came down with the desegregation law. This desegregated schools, buses. It desegregated anything and everything that had to do with schools. So schools that were disassociated by color were no longer able to be disassociated by color. Sadly, society, and this is a shame because this was in the 60s. Now here we are in 2019 and segregation is still a thing. Segregation should have never been a thing. I see segregation a lot in the pagan communities. Oh yeah. Pagans everywhere. Every time we sit down and talk, oh, I'm not prejudiced. I don't segregate people. I don't set people apart. I don't. Sure you do. Sure you do. You segregate shamans and witches. You segregate druids and ossators. All denominations of paganism, just like denominations of Christianity, just like denominations of other religions, segregate people. They pull people out and they set them off to the side. You get these people that don't follow the norm of belief or the norm of what other people think. You have segregation. Now I believe that we have see, who do we have? Lucy, and we have Clint coming to us from Discord this morning. Lucy, Clint, have either of you, first off, can you hear me okay out there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you, but a lot of times you're breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up a lot.
Even on Discord?
Yeah, on Discord. I don't know about the video because I'm muting the video.
Blah. Wonder why that is.
Okay. And video, I just did the volume up and it's not breaking up.
The Facebook video is not breaking up?
Didn't sound like it a little bit, I just listened to.
But Discord's breaking up now. Last week it was the other way around. Okay. Well, let's just kind of go with it. We're already in broadcast and there's really nothing I can do about it now. It's going to have to be something going on somewhere.
Still understand you though.
Okay. So, you guys in the chat, in the vocal chat and in the type chat, have you ever dealt with and maybe tell your story a little bit about what you might have dealt with segregation in the pagan community. Let's go with the pagan community.
All right, I'll type something.
Clint, we can hear you.
Okay, well, I had an experience probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had some pagan people talking with me here in Liberty when I was at the store, and they were kind of standoffish and just didn't understand that I wasn't part of a big group. I just had a little circle, and they just didn't understand that.
So they didn't understand that you weren't part of a great big group, that you just had one small circle?
Yeah, I explained to them, I'm just starting out. We were just starting out real good, and we meet at a friend's house, and we only have about 6 or 7 people right now, and we don't go out to a like the park or anything that like that yet because we don't have a real big group. So they were kind of, it's like, what in the world? What are you talking about? It's supposed to be a large group.
Seems to me like they might be in it for the wrong reason, huh? If they're in it for the size of the group and they're not in it for what it can do for the community, I would tend to think maybe they were in it for the wrong reasons.
Yep, they're in it for the way they want from what I understood, and felt they're wanting something like a church setting and stuff, and it's like that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, if they want a church setting, then maybe they need to go back to Liberty Baptist Church. Haha.
Well, one of the churches up here, there's a bunch of them now. I think there's like 10 of them up in here now.
All right. Well, Lucy, I know you've had some issues with segregation in the pagan community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Are you still talking to Clint or?
I was talking to you.
Oh, sorry. I mean, when I first started studying Celtic shamanism, like I had people, like when I was still in Houston, that they're like, "Oh, Celtic shamanism isn't a thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is," and they wouldn't like take it seriously. Like they wanted me to go off into something else. I'm like, "No, this is my path." Since I've been in Georgia, believe it or not, it's more accepted. I joined a group called the North Georgia Pagans Group, and people are they meet somewhere. I haven't gone yet because when they were doing their things, they were it was when I was working overnight, so I couldn't go. But like whenever I interact with the group, everyone's very open, very accepting. There's a store that's maybe 20 minutes away called Simple Strands, and it is the nicest energy I have felt in a store before. Like I absolutely love going there, and the lady there is just wonderful. I just want to hug her every time I see her. And recently, like there's been some posts in the group like, hey, where's everybody from? And so there's actually a lot of pagans around me, and they're all very nice, very welcoming. I've actually made a bunch of girl friends that I talk to on almost on a regular basis now, and I'm feeling more at home here. So like I haven't really felt that segregation since I've been here, believe it or not, in Georgia out of all places. So, I mean, yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. You
Yeah.
know, it when you get into heavy segregation, it really plays with the psyche, number one, and enough of it, enough ridicule, and enough bullying through segregation, it can really mess with somebody's head. So, if anybody is um, watching in the text chat and they want to place their story in there, do feel free. Those of you watching the pre-recorded broadcast, by all means, if you've got a story, put it in the chat. One of us, myself, or one of the other ministers within the HOP and Open Pagan Church will absolutely read it and do a reply. Give us 24 hours or so for sure. But it's been more family and friends. Yeah, I hear you, Lucy. Says segregation she's dealt with has been mostly family and friends, and that really calls to point one of the things I was going to talk about today on Open Pagan Church. Um, and I'm still getting things adjusted. In the biggest segregation test, and anybody that knows me knows I love to look up social statistics and social experiments that have been done with people. One of the big social experiments that was done, I think in the 70s, if I remember correctly, there was a couple of groups that pulled together children. And when I say children, I'm talking grade school. I believe it was pre-K, first, second, and third graders. So they were just above toddler, right? So they're actually forming their social skills, and they're actually forming what it is, um, you know, what it is, that they're doing. And what you run into is this, and this was really interesting. They took a mixture of all colors and races, okay? They had, if I remember correctly, they had a Middle Eastern, a African American, Hispanic, a Caucasian. They had at that time in the 70s, there was a real serious issue with Asian individuals. They had Asians in there. There were as many of the different races as they could find. And they had toys, and they had slides, and they had swings, and so they just turned all these kids out together, right? The parents couldn't get to them. The parents couldn't talk to them. They just threw them out and let them play. The interesting part is with all different races, there ended up being no segregation. Now, you did have these children that are loners. They're loners by personality or DNA or whatever. And these, one or two of the children kind of got off by themselves. They really didn't want to be in a group or with everybody else, so they got off and played by themselves. The other children over time managed to win them over, managed to bring them in. Come, play with us. You don't have to really be off by yourself. Well, that was one part of the study. So they found out if everybody is different. Okay, the point, the moral to the story is, if you will, if everybody is different, there is no segregation. Because there is no social binding. There is no social programming that's going on. And toddlers and pre-K, first, second, third graders, there's no my money, your money. There's no who's richer, who's poor, whatever. They're just kids. They were all dressed relatively the same, and they all played for hours. They never did segregate. Now, on the flip side, they did other study groups where there were more children of one color, okay? Not uh, not money wise, but one color. They did it with Caucasian, they did it with African American, they did it with Hispanic, with Asian, and they separated these different groups, right? So what they ended up doing was they would put uh, three or four or five of the same color children, and then they would put a mix of other color children in there with them. Now, my question has always been, before I continue, and I want everybody to think about this, is segregation only society taught, or is segregation a natural human action? And I'll say that again. Is segregation only society taught, or is segregation a natural human action? Or is it both? I say it's both, and here's why. And any of you guys with voice chat, if you want to add in, by all means jump in, because I never stop talking. um, but this social experiment came about with, like I said, four or five of one color. And they were put in a playground at the same time that all of the other kids of different colors, right, were there. Guess what? It was a natural segregation. It was a natural segregation of like colored children that would break off from all of the rest, and they would play to themselves, and they would ignore all of the other children. Now, I found that very interesting. And yes, with every action, there is a reaction. But if you take children prior to any real major society programming, and you put them in a play yard, and you just let them go, you let them work it out, you let them do their thing, you let them play, they will tend to show what is happening naturally. Now, the interesting part of this that I found is after several hours of allowing the kids to play, the segregation of the one color kids was eventually absorbed into the bigger mass. So you had all the inter races, okay, that come together and played, because there was no instigating factor for the social segregation of color. The next day, or a couple of 3 or 4 days later, they did it again with a different color. Same number of kids, same color variance on the other side, okay, but on the flip side, they had a different color. They wanted to see if it had a specific to one particular color orientation. It did not. The findings were the same. In the beginning, all of your same color children, no matter what color they had, no matter what tests they had, each larger number colored individuals, whether black, white, Hispanic, like I say, Asian, whatever, Middle Eastern, whatever, the colors would segregate themselves together away from everybody else for a while. And it was different times, and it really didn't show any significance with how long they stayed segregated. However, the segregation was natural. The segregation was automatic. The split second they threw these kids into the play yard, the maximum number of kids that had the most color would go to one corner. and they would talk and laugh and play, and all of the other kids that were all biracial, different races, would play to themselves. Over time, the segregation would work itself out and it would go away, either because one group was doing something the other group wanted to join into, or vice versa, whatever the reason. But there was no parental or societal um, inspiration or push to maintain that segregation. So this kind of tells me, and my perception of it, and again, um, open pagan church, all we have is our perception and those areas where we might be able to find some fact, is segregation begins with the natural mind of the human being wanting to find like people, alike people, people that are like them, people that make them feel good about themselves, right? Over time, if society stays the hell out of it and stop instigating and stirring crap, so to speak, people will come together. I mean, we're seeing that finally in minuscule sizes, if you will. But these situations where people are segregated from other groups, human beings want to be with like human beings. What what are y'all thoughts? What are y'all's thoughts on that? Any ideas? Any input?
Well, when you talk about the segregation on the playgrounds and stuff like that, growing up in the military, that happened the same way with the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines. We were all segregated to different areas on the Navy bases and uh, in the community. But in school, once we started playing and everything, we did not conform to that. The kids just naturally gravitated as kids. They didn't gravitate as Marines or Navy or whatever like that. We all, after a while, once you got to know everybody, it was a group.
Yeah, did you ever notice there was there was a particular age where there ended up being procrastination for segregation? In other words, a support mechanism brought forward by mainstream society as a segregation. Did you ever notice a particular age where that may have started?
From my experience, it was usually around age 10, 11, somewhere around there.
Middle
Anything
school.
below that, we didn't care.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. So, what are, and this may be a rhetorical question, okay? I've been trying for many years, especially with House of Pagans and Open Pagan Church, form form a group where people that felt like they really didn't belong anywhere could have a place to be. It didn't have to do with shamans or witches or druids or fae or anything else. We pushed to do away with segregation in the HOP. And we did that with Open Circle. It didn't make any difference whether you were Christian, atheist, pagan, what denomination of paganism, what your path was. But when we did Circle, we had no segregation. And I always found it interesting. Morning, Cindy. I always found it interesting in uh, Open Circle. And you guys can feel free to add in here if you like. But I always found it interesting in circle that the circle would segregate itself. There would be different little groups that would segregate themselves throughout the circle. And I found this to kind of happen. Uh, Morning, Tasha. I found this, interesting that segregation ended up being automatic, even in an open pagan circle. Morning, Tasha. Welcome. So, what do you guys think about that? Have you ever noticed in large, let's go with a pagan circle, which we're all very experienced with for the most part, um, we would have 60, 80, 100, 110 people in a circle. And you would notice how people automatically segregated themselves around circle. Um, what are y'all's thoughts on that? Everybody just went quiet.
Can you repeat that? I'm having a hard time hearing you very well. Sorry.
Is anybody else?
The mic,
Go ahead, Clint.
your mic's breaking bad.
My mic's what?
Your mic is breaking up real bad. It's cut out like every two or three.
Yeah, and see that's weird. So is yours. And I'm showing 2.5, 2.6 megs up, which is usually plenty enough. And according to mic gain, all of my controls here, it's working fine. I wonder what's going on. Um,
It comes and goes.
Comes and goes.
Yeah, it's got to be Facebook.
Yeah, Cindy says I hear fine. So I wonder if it's got to be just something going on with Facebook, really. Um, I'm sorry you guys are having the issue because I think this is a really strong topic. But let me reword the question. Um, Sound distant. Sorry about that, Tasha. Let's see if I can get closer here. I don't know how much closer I can get to the mic. Let's see. All right. Does that make it
Eat
any
it.
better?
Eat it. Yeah, that's better.
Is that better? Okay. All right. Um, yeah, there is a lot of background noise. I do apologize. My servers are working extra hard this morning. We've got them blocked off a bit with a sound screen, but you know how that goes, right? Um, we are working on that. So, is this any better then? So, I guess turning it up like that is a bit better.
Yeah,
Yes.
much better.
Okay, great. We'll go with that then. All right. So, to reword the question again, we noticed when we had open circle, okay, when we had our big circle down south, I noticed that the circle would auto segregate, okay, meaning that different little niches and different little groups of people, like you might see the witches kind of congregate together on one side of the circle, and you might see the druids congregate on another circle side, and the shamans kind of congregate on the other. Do y'all remember that? Was it my imagination, or has
No, there were clicks.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no, there were clicks.
Yeah, we all kind of separated into our own little groups on one side or the other.
Now, if you'll remember, and those of you watching without voice, absolutely, if you've got a story to add where you were segregated, where you were pulled out apart, by all means, type it in. We will absolutely read it and address it. Absolutely. So, one of the things I did Tasha says, I think many people are down to the vibrations of others. I agree. And that's kind of where I was going to go later on. You know, you feel comfortable. You feel more comfortable in certain segments of people than you do others. And there are those that just absolutely don't feel comfortable at all in any uh, mass number of people. I know several solitaire practitioners, solitaire shamans, solitaire witches, and solitaire practitioners of paganism that just don't like large numbers of people. I get that. But one of the things we did, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but there were several circles that I started calling where I would stop. And in the pre-writ discussion, I would tell everyone, okay, I want a separation of people in different areas around the circle. I want to separate everybody's energy. I want to stagger everyone's energy. Circle comes to mind. I think it was Beltane one year, which was normally our biggest circles. I think we had 60 or 70 people. We had everything. We had druids, shamans, witches, fae. I think we had a couple of Christians that were watching that year because they wanted to see what pagan circles were about. And we had a couple of different other paths. I don't remember. I want to say one of them was Asatru. Maybe a couple of others I'm not remembering. But if you guys remember, I asked for a one or two person stagger. Witch, shaman, druid, and then we'd start shaman, witch, druid, and we had everyone stagger their paths around the circle to kind of separate this segregation and to better balance the overall energy of the circle. Does anybody remember that?
I remember it because that was when I first started coming, and everything was the way it was done. Everything felt great.
Yeah, it really come out good, and I think we actually started doing that after a while. But it kind of encases the point of the topic for today's discussion. Segregation is just as much a natural human action and reaction as it is a society enforced situation. Even today, at the time of the broadcast of this video in 2019, we deal with major segregation on a daily basis that is so society ingrained that I really think it's unhealthy. And what I mean by that is, granted, I totally get it. There are times where we feel more comfortable with other people. I totally get that. But there should really come a time where we branch out. It becomes more about human beings than it does color. It becomes more about human beings than it does path or belief system. Because at the end of the day, it's like I've said before, if we peel the skin, unless you get down to the science, if we peel the skin, you can't tell color. Our blood is red when it hits oxygen. It is purple and blue when it's in our bodies. Um, Unless you're born without them, you've all got a mouth, a nose, eyes, and ears. Um, Unless you're born with a formality, we've all got 10 fingers and 10 toes, 2 legs and 2 arms, as it were. But I think my point to the whole discussion is segregation does not have to be a thing. It really doesn't. Segregation is something that people do automatically. Now, there are times where segregation is needed. I get that. I understand that. There are times when segregation is something that is done, like when the witches have their closed meetings as a coven, okay, as a coven. There are times when shamans have their meetings as a grove, if you will. The druids as a grove. Other meetings of other groups where the higher ups come together within the group and discuss things that need to be done. I think that form of segregation is normal. I think it's natural. And like I said, everybody else may have a different opinion. But sometimes segregation is not a bad thing. It's when that segregation is pulled to society that segregation becomes dangerous. What, and continuing on, I want to kind of start drawing down a little bit. What is segregation to you? What does segregation mean to you? And I'll mute my mic and let you guys talk or type or whatever for a minute. But what story do you have? Morning, Dave. I'm kind of giving an open mic here to let people talk about what story of segregation they might have. We've had some people join in, and I'd like to hear from them. Some people are in Discord voice chat, and some people are in the Facebook type chat. So, what is segregation to you? Don't everybody talk at once now.
Do you mean
I
like in the
just can't.
pagan? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I had to step away for a minute.
Now, go ahead, Lucy.
Do you mean like in the pagan or just in the regular sense?
Period. Any kind of segregation you've ever had to deal with within your life. Those of you without voice, by all means, type it in the window. Those of you with voice, any type of segregation you've dealt with that sticks out in your life that may have changed or helped make you who you are.
Clint, did you want to go or?
No, go ahead and do it.
Okay. Well, lately, well, it's something that I've had to deal with like the whole time I've been pagan. Uh, with my family and some of my friends, they were used to me being Christian, and then I started being pagan or a shaman, and it's like they don't see it as faith. So they keep sending message like personally on Facebook. I'm constantly getting prayer requests and oh, you need God and Jesus in your life and things like that. And I always respond, I'm like, "Well, thank you for your well wishes. I know that you're wishing good for me," which, if someone says I'll pray for you, okay, well, thank you. But like I find myself having to be careful, I guess, of what I post on Facebook because of my family. Um, I just, yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense, but that would be for me. Like, I have to be careful about what I say around people And even though I respect their path, like they don't have respect for mine, which is probably a different topic.
Well, not really, because that actually falls right into segregation. You are allowing yourself to be segregated and to be put in a block. Okay. Um, and like Dave said, what we've already talked about. Segregation is excluding anyone from anything, from certain groups of people. Yeah, we had already talked about that. But when you're allowing yourself to be made to feel uncomfortable about your post, you are allowing yourself to be segregated. You're allowing yourself to be pulled off to the side. Um, Tasha says, I've been told I need the demons removed and I need Jesus to save me. Well, how many times have those of us heard that?
Yeah,
Sadly,
all the time.
yeah, I mean, sadly, without, oh hell, there's no way I can put it other than to just sound mean, there is no cure for stupid. And there is no cure for people that refuse to be educated about uh, paganism and about who and what we are. Um, I found, and some time ago, uh, when I found myself working with several atheists, I got intrigued. I didn't get uncomfortable, and I wasn't segregated, and I wasn't pushed off to the side. If anything, because I was pagan, I was brought into the fold of the rest of the atheists because pagans, as a whole, generally are more accepting. We're like, hey, whatever you believe or don't believe in, that's up to you. That's your thing. But I started studying atheism. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to convert to atheism. What it means is I like to be informed. I like to be educated on different topics, different philosophies, and different ideas. I'm one of those individuals that knows a bit about a lot, but don't know everything about everything. I don't want to. That's what I got you guys for. But when it comes to segregation, it's automatic. Granted, it's society enforced.
Right.
Yeah, it's society enforced. But segregation is automatic. People segregate others because they're different. Because they make them feel uncomfortable, right? Make them feel uncomfortable. Um, they try to enforce their will upon others. They try to push what they believe on others. And I don't think that's right. We should not segregate other people because they're different. Um, see, Tasha says, I've been segregated not only because of being pagan, but also to do with being bisexual and the way I look. I understand that one. Hell, I'm 57 years old and can't find another job because I'm spooky looking and don't have pearly whiteys and don't have any teeth. And some people tell me I look like Santa Claus. Ho, ho, ho. And as far as bisexuality, you got the best of both worlds, girl. Go for it. She said, stop giving a damn. Yeah, absolutely. Strive to find peace in our own center. Yep, absolutely. Um, and this is a point. This is an absolute point. Thank you, Tasha, for making that point. Um, she says, I've found that when it no longer causes a reaction, people no longer try to criticize or segregate me. Yes, absolutely. When you, welcome, Amy. Boy, long time no see. When you stop allowing people to segregate you and you stop reacting like Lucy, I think it was Lucy said earlier in the broadcast, when you stop reacting to people's actions or you change your reaction to people's actions, they're going to change the way they act, usually. Like I say, there's no cure for stupid. But when you're talking about segregation and you're talking about being pulled apart and separated from others and put out there all alone, you have to make it a point to stop allowing that segregation to have such a negative impact on you, your family, and those around you. And of course, since the legalization of same sex marriage, now we've got another point of segregation because I've seen some in the gay and lesbian community segregate bisexuals because they're bisexual. I'm like, really? What difference does it make? It's a sexual orientation. It's something you like. It's something you enjoy. By all means. My idea is, if you want to hump a stump, go for it. Mind the bees and the ants. Yeah, family channel. Watch yourself, Maxwell. So, my case in point is, and we're reaching towards the end of the broadcast. Um, my case in point is when you're dealing with segregation, it really does come down to how you react, how I react to segregation, how you react, how you teach kids to react. And one of the biggest things is other people's kids watch the way other adults act and react with discrimination and segregation. You may not think it's that important, but it is. It is very important. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tasha says, I also have this thing when I see someone being segregated, I make it a point to go to the person and speak with them. I have found it also breaks a pattern. Yes. That was kind of the thing to the story I was telling and the research I was telling in the beginning of the broadcast about how they put several kids in a play yard, and they separated them at first. They had one set of kids as one color. Color doesn't matter. Color doesn't make any difference. But they had a set of kids over here that were one color, and they had a whole bunch of variable colored children over here, right? Different nationalities, different colors. The segregation started automatically, but over time, that segregation went away. And these are kids. These are preschoolers, first, second, third graders. So it takes one, like Tasha, like myself, I know, like Clint and Lucy, and I've known Amy for a long time. It takes one person to step out of the norm of segregation and come up and say, how are you? My name's Don. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the group. Come in. Join us. And they're going to be shy. They're going to be standoffish because, well, they've been segregated so much. It's okay. I got you back. How many times have I told people, come on in, I got you back. Nobody's going to jack with you. So you got purple hair and, I don't know, piercings in the eyebrows. And maybe you got this great big cow ring in your nose. I look at the personality. Are you a good person? I've been known to ask people, are you a good person? They're like, well, I think I am. That's all I need. That's all I need. Um, I even had one that was real tense one year came out. And I said, look, are you an alien from outer space? You don't look green. Don't look blue. Are you a human being from planet Earth? Now, if you're an alien, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk because I got some questions. But I've never believed in segregating anybody for any reason. But with that being said, we are 23 minutes past the hour here at Open Pagan Church. And those of you that came in late, those of you that are new to watching, okay, go back if you like through Open Pagan Church and watch some of our other videos. When we leave here, I'll be setting up for Live with the Shaman. You can hashtag Live with the Shaman and come over and watch if you like. It's an open channel. I will say, Live with the Shaman is an adult channel. An adult channel. Alright? That even goes with adult children over 18. Anyway, let's stop segregation, shall we? Let's see if we can't, as pagans, like Tasha said, find that person that's being segregated and go talk to them. Now, if they're an asshole, nothing can be done for an asshole. But just say, come join us. Come break bread at our table. Come sit, let's chat, let's talk. Who knows? You might actually find a friend. Remember, segregation starts with yourself. And desegregation starts with yourself. The only way we're going to become a better global society is to enforce and continue to enforce desegregation. Well, hey, look, I appreciate you guys coming around. If I hope the new microphone setup wasn't too bad. We're going to continue to use it until told otherwise. But I really want to thank you guys for joining in and watching Open Pagan Church. We're here every Sunday, barring anything weird or outrageous. But we'll see you next week here on Open Pagan Church. Anybody have anything to say, closing remarks or anything? Go ahead. No? Okay. We'll pull to a close. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time here on Open Pagan Church. Hope you enjoy
Don't go anywhere, guys.
Don't go anywhere, guys, yet. Wait, what? Oh, never mind. Hold on, Clint. All right. You guys have a great day.